Welcome back to Root to Resilience, the podcast that's all about nurturing strength and resilience in our mind, body, and soul, and in our relationships too. And today's episode is really special because I'm joined once again by my husband, Ed. And some of you might remember Ed from the very first episode of Root to Resilience, from Misalignment to Purpose. That conversation was all about finding alignment within ourselves and our lives. And it's beautiful to now be coming back full circle, exploring what alignment and trust looks like in a relationship. So welcome back, Ed.
Hi everyone, it's great to be back. I've seen you do this for, how long's it been? Nearly a year now?
Probably 10 months, 9 months.
And I've seen it go and grow, and you've had some amazing guests. So I'm really honoured to come back, as I was your first guest, and we were engaged back then. But now
We're married.
we're married, yeah. So it's great that we've got such a topic we can talk about, and it's meaningful to both of us.
Yeah. And so today we're going to be talking about the trust factor and how to build a strong, resilient relationship before marriage. Because it's important to understand that trust isn't just about honesty, it's also about safety, respect, and alignment, and showing up for one another when life is good and when it's not. So whether you're dating, engaged, or already married, this episode will give you tools and reflections to help build a foundation that lasts. So I guess we should get into it.
Let's do it.
So the first thing for us to talk about is what trust really means in a resilient relationship. So shall I tell you what I think trust means, and then we'll hand it over to you?
Yeah, ladies first.
Okay.
Ladies first. I'm old school.
The thing that really built trust for me in our relationship is that you showed up consistently, and you have been the same ever since. Like, the way you show up for me in our relationship hasn't changed. And I guess that has built up trust over time, because obviously it means that you're being true to yourself and to me and to us. So that's probably built a lot of trust. And I must admit, when we first started dating, and you'll probably agree with this, I don't think I was hugely trusting. I think that I was overly cautious and perhaps not as open as you were. So I think you had to do a lot of work in building that trust. And I guess you had to do a lot of work in ensuring that this is a resilient relationship. Would you agree?
Yeah. And we'd both had, good and bad, maybe previous relationships or dating adventures, shall we put it, with other people that maybe let us down, or we didn't feel like there was that trust or that general bond and respect that you should have for anyone in your life. I don't think when we talk about trust, it should just be about, marriage and relationship. I'm quite a loyal person, and at the beginning, you were maybe more skeptical about why does someone want to spend time with me, or why is someone showing me this kind of affection, things like that. But I just saw it as a challenge, really. And I thought, she came across as a very genuine person, and I could tell that maybe you've been, either hurt or messed around before. Maybe it's to show you that not every man or woman or person or them is like that.
Yeah.
So it's the basis of the beginning of any relationship, is trust, communication, and general respect.
One of the things that you were really good at doing very early on is building a foundation of emotional safety, which is definitely what I needed. And people are afraid to do this quite early on in their relationships when you're dating, but I think this was really important for us to be able to move on to the next step. I was quite open about showing my vulnerabilities, about what I was fearful about, and you were really keen on me being able to communicate about that as well. So you were very good at recognizing when I was holding back or when I might be being a bit cautious, and you were kind of asking me, well, what is this all about? And because you made me feel safe very early on, I was able to be open about why I was holding back. So it meant that you, every step of the way, you were getting a better understanding of why I might be behaving the way that I was behaving, rather than it being, oh, she's not interested, I'm not going to bother anymore. I think this is where a lot of relationships possibly trip up from the very beginning, because you're probably making an assumption on why someone is behaving the way that they're behaving.
Yeah.
And without kind of asking them the questions and communicating with them, you're probably never going to get a real understanding of what's really going on for that person. And it's a scary thing, opening up to somebody new, having somebody new in your life. And so I think building that foundation of trust and emotional safety is really key, and I think that's what helped us to move quite quickly, I think, in our relationship, but also build that resilience, which has been a really solid foundation for us in the continuation of our relationship as well.
Also, we're not in our 20s. We're a bit like, I'm not going to waste time wasting someone's time. I would like to have a genuine connection with someone and see where that grows. So I feel like, date 3, we were asking each other about, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or do you want children, which is the big one when you're in your 30s? What do you want out of life? And I think that's important to do for someone. Also, out of a respect for them, that if you're not on the same page, then maybe you shouldn't just stay in that relationship for the sake of it, or for the sake of dating someone. Don't waste your time or theirs. That was very much my thoughts at, what was I, 34?
I don't know.
No.
I always forget your age now, so I don't know.
I'm younger, everyone.
I got a little toy boy.
So yeah, for me it was about being straight from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, and
Being honest and open, and having a safe space to express my opinions on how I feel a relationship be, or how you should be, and respecting that, and being honest with your answers. I think that's important.
You showed me that you were very reliable from the beginning. You were making a huge amount of effort, which I was obviously very grateful for, but every time you said that you were going to do something and you did it, that built trust within me to say that you are a man of your word. But also you were doing things like saying, I'm going to make a picnic, and you made the picnic with a goat's cheese tart and things like that. So it was very...
From scratch.
From scratch as well.
Don't forget that.
And I kept on eating it when you went to the toilet.
I know. It kept disappearing, and then I came back and there was none left.
Yeah, so I mean, things like that, you showing that you were a reliable person, you were willing to make the effort, you showed up consistently. You also we both actually built a great foundation of emotional safety, which meant that we were both able to share our fears and also accept each other for who we were and our authentic selves. And I think this is something that I think is key in building a resilient relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess what I would urge the listeners to do is to reflect on, what does trust mean for you in a relationship? Because me and Ed are obviously talking about what was key for us, but it's not going to be the same for everybody. So it's really great to reflect on, what does trust mean for you in a relationship? Is it reliability, honesty, respect, or emotional safety? And that's the kind of thing that you should be seeking when you're meeting somebody new.
What do you think, when we were kind of dating, and what do you think helped build that trust in a way that you thought, yeah, I could marry this person, or this is the guy for me, or because it's a big thing, isn't it, getting married?
If I'm really honest, I think that building trust before marriage, I don't know how this is for everybody else, but I think that for me, getting married was actually a scary time. It was kind of a scary time. If you're somebody who has come from a place of, I don't deserve to be happy, or I don't deserve to be loved, then it can really send you on a bit of a spin. So I think in the run up to our wedding, when you proposed, there was a lot going on for me internally, which was nothing. It was not a reflection on you, but it was a reflection on how I probably saw the world and trying to kind of work through that.
Yeah, that's yeah, I can see that.
So I think that what did we do that helped us build that trust before marriage, and this was clearly very, very important for me in the run up to our wedding, and I think it was having that open communication. We talked at great length about how we wanted to get married, which I think was amazing, because I don't know how many people get to say, well, actually, I'd rather not do it like that, and this is my preference. I think that a lot of the time some people might just follow set examples of how marriage is done, but
or what the other person really wants, and just go, well, yeah, I'll go along with that. But we have to be fair that we kind of agreed what we wanted to do, actual wedding wise, and what we saw marriage life like. So we have to be grateful that we're on the same page about that anyway.
Yeah, so there was a lot of alignment, and I think this is another thing that I think has really helped us to build resilience in our relationship, is that a lot of the time we're in sync and we're in alignment.
Most of the time.
I think 99% of the time, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
There's been times where, like, I've been thinking about what to have for dinner, and then you'll kind of message me saying, oh, I want to have this for dinner. I know that's a stupid example, but I think we are in sync and we are in alignment. We're really good at being able to say, can we just talk about this for 1 second? Because it's very easy, especially with weddings and stuff, it's very easy to get carried away.
And you're in love, and everything's great when you're in love, and yeah, it's only money, and da-da-da.
Yeah, so I think I was quite good at saying, okay, hold on 1 minute. I think let's just talk about this. Even when it was like 2 months before our wedding, 3 months before our wedding, whatever, I think we were still having those conversations and check-ins, like, is this still the way you want to do it? Is there any kind of reservations? Like, is there anything that is potentially of concern? And I think I was quite open in saying, actually, I don't want to do it necessarily like this, and this is the reason why.
And we did change some things towards only small things, but there were some things that you're like, actually, I am going to do that now, or I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think if I had said, well, actually, I think we should do that, maybe we would have had to have more of a conversation about it, but I kind of agreed with you. So I think overall...
Can I give people an example of one of the things that we did change?
It depends what it is.
So when we were discussing doing our personal vows.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So Ed really wanted to do the personal vows at our wedding ceremony, which we did at the Brighton Pavilion. Amazing place to get married. It was magical, and...
Shout out to the Brighton Pavilion.
Yeah. And I felt my personal view about that was that I felt like my personal vows were very private, and it was just for me and Ed rather than our wedding party and the guests. Not that we had a lot of guests at our wedding, but that was my very strong feeling. And it was not that long before we were getting married where I said, oh, Ed, I'm not sure if I want to do the personal vows.
Yeah, which I kind of understood where you're coming from. And for me, it was kind of, well, that's the one thing that maybe we are going to do in front of people, because we're not having a big, wedding. We're doing it more for us. Because originally we were going to run off to Greece, right?
Yeah, well.
I respected that, and actually the way that we did it in the end, which I'm sure you'll explain to your listeners soon, was actually even more special for us, I think.
Yeah, so when I explained to Ed that I wasn't really keen on doing the personal vows at the wedding ceremony because they were very personal to me and Ed, and I explained that we came to a resolution and a compromise, and we ended up doing what did we call it? We had a name for it.
Did we?
The ceremony so we basically went to Madeira on our mini moon. We decided to do our personal vows then. So we had, I can't remember what you call it. They have a word for the ceremony. Anyway, so we decided to do it then. So we still had a very special moment where we were able to express ourselves in that way. So I think that the point that I'm trying to make here is that just because you have an idea of how things should be and how they should look, it doesn't mean that that's a be all and end all. There's always going to be another way that we can do something that we're keen on doing. So I think that's one of the things that Ed and I are really good at doing. We're quite good at coming across what could be potentially seen as an obstacle and saying, well, maybe there is a resolution here. Let's think outside the box a little bit. So we don't get too caught up in if something's not going the way we plan, or if something's not going the way that we had the idea we had. We are able to kind of work around it and kind of come to a bit of a compromise and a resolution. And I think that's a really great example of us doing that. We're very good at being able to communicate even with things that might be quite uncomfortable. I mean, it wasn't that comfortable for me to say that I didn't really want to do my personal vows at the wedding ceremony. There was obviously a potential to offend you because I know that you were really keen on doing it. So that was not...
Yeah, I think it was more of a maybe that's what we should do, rather than actually let's look at it and think maybe it might be nice to do something really intimate, because you do say some kind of basic vows, don't you?
Yeah.
And for me, that's quite old school. Even the whole marriage thing we discussed is kind of an old school thing. For me, it was more about making a promise to you. The whole kind of jargon about, the law side of it, I think is a bit old school. And a little bit like, I don't own my wife, we're doing this equally, and we're doing it because we love each other and we just want to spend, our life together, and that's a promise you make. So for me, doing the vows, which we did in a forest in Madeira, was a little bit more special. And we'll remember that as part of the whole experience, more than just one ceremony. And then obviously if we have a party, which we're planning to have, it will kind of be one whole chapter. Or it'll be a few chapters of a book, which is our marriage, rather than one page, that was our wedding, they were our vows, this is the party, done. And I think we like adventure, don't we?
I'm really pleased with the way that it turned out in the end. But it's not just the uncomfortable conversations about how you would like to get married. It's also conversations about money, about expectations or fears. At the beginning, maybe I wasn't as open. I wasn't as open about those things that I've just mentioned. But as the relationship's gone on, and I have we've built that emotional stability.
And there's safety, I think, as well.
And the safety, because you're so good at being supportive, that means that I'm able to communicate quite effectively, and which means that things don't really linger.
Yeah, and it's good. You should speak your mind, obviously in a nice, loving way. But one of the worst, or one of the things that used to annoy me in some relationships, or would be if someone would go, well, I don't mind. or
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind. It's up to you. But real deep down, let's be honest, you probably do mind, and everyone does have an opinion on things. And in a relationship, it's best to go, well, what do you actually want to do?
And
Oh,
be
well,
honest.
I see it like this, A, B, C, and I might go, actually, well, I see it C, B, A. Okay, well, maybe we can meet in the middle and work out what's best for both of us. But if you always go down that route of someone maybe backing down or going, I don't mind, eventually you might build a bit of resentment, or
Yeah.
you might feel like, oh, we always do what they want, or... So I think it's healthy to speak your mind in a relationship
Yeah.
in a nice, constructive way, which
Yeah.
is usually late at night when we're sitting on the sofa or we've come back from dancing or something like that is a good time to, have an honest conversation with each other.
Yeah, and it usually starts with, Ed, I've been thinking, and
Yeah.
you go, oh no.
Sometimes.
But you've made a really good point. It's really key to be honest in your communication and be open with your communication, because you are likely to build resentment and you are likely to hold those things, and it kind of builds up and up and up, and it might not have an impact right away, but if you're in that relationship for years of not speaking your mind, then it does build up eventually, and then it's going to show eventually.
Also, you want someone to express themselves. You don't want,
Yeah.
I don't mind. Okay, well, what do you want in life? Or where do you want to go on holiday? Or what do you want to do tonight? Or what music do you want to listen to? Or what film do you want to see? You want someone to express their character. And sometimes you're not always going to agree.
No.
I want to go and do this. Oh, I don't really want to do that. That's cool as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about allowing the other person to be themselves without any kind of judgment. There is a possibility that we present ourselves in relationships in how we think the other person may want to see us.
Yeah.
And it's really important to know who you are as a person and how you want to live your life. And this can take many years of reflection and getting to know yourself. And I think one of the things that really helps build a strong and resilient relationship is knowing your core values.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that
Yeah.
being in a supportive relationship is one of my real core values. Having freedom in a relationship is also another one of my core values. Honesty is obviously another core value. And I think if you know those things are your values at the very beginning of a relationship, then that's what creates alignment and a sense of safety quite early on.
Yeah. I think going back to what we were saying, talking early on in a relationship, obviously if you're looking for it to be something, maybe, I don't like the word serious, but maybe something that's, not just a short-term fix for how you're feeling or looking for something, is to talk about core values and express, well, actually, this is really important to me. And someone that's, I'm not going to go into star signs, but Scorpio, I see myself as a very typical Scorpio. I'm very loyal. It's very important to me with my friends or with my partner that, like, we're loyal. And I don't mean that sense of, like, cheating. Obviously, I don't even have to mention that. Is more just loyal in building something and not being honest from the beginning or leading someone down a path that you don't have any intention of finishing that journey. I think that's really important. And I think we did do that.
And we still...
Once you started to open up a bit.
Yeah, and we still have loyalty towards one another.
I should hope so. We're married.
Yeah. But I think we're also very good at accepting each other's flaws. And...
I don't have any flaws.
I don't think so. You're perfect, Ed, as much as you like to think you are. But...
No, I know my flaws.
Well, we both have flaws.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that I think we're very good at. We're very good at understanding each other and accepting each other for who we are in the good and the bad. And we do that without judgment. I don't expect you to be perfect, and you don't expect me to be perfect.
Right.
If you're going to be spending this amount of time with somebody and you're going to be living life with them, you have to have a great deal of understanding that that other person is a human being and they are going to fuck up sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay because we are all human. And I think one thing that you're really good at is understanding that if somebody is being an idiot, i.e. when I'm being awkward or challenging, that you realise that potentially there's something else going on for me that is making me react.
Yeah. Maybe you were triggered by something.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
And I think that's really helped us to come along so far in our relationship.
Yeah.
Knowing that I'm going to be with somebody who's not going to judge me, because the likelihood is that I'm going to come back and say, okay, I've been reflecting on the way that I was behaving and that was completely out of order and I'm really sorry. That happens a lot.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, but it's usually not. It's usually because of something else that's going on in your life.
Yeah.
And we can all get like that as human beings. You know, life's not. Sometimes it is easy, sometimes it's not. It's peaks and troughs, as I always say. Or what do I always say? Life is, you know, it's a bike ride. If you stop pedalling, you fall off. So you just got to keep pedaling even through those hard times and those bad times, I think. And usually
a bit of Ed wisdom, everybody.
The book of Ed. Even, you know, when you maybe have had a bad day or something has triggered you, 9 times out of 10, the next night when we just talk about it, you kind of learn from that and you grow as a person. Same with me. I get triggered as well. I'm just a bit less vocal about it.
Anyway, so what we can take from that is that things are going to happen in life and you're going to be together going through these peaks and troughs. So you need to have quite a deep connection with one another to be able to deal with what life throws at you. It's really important to learn about one another and how each other behave when shit does hit the fan, as well as when life is good as well.
Yeah. Sometimes people just need a hug, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think that goes not just, you know, as I said, it is relationships and marriage, but also your friends as well, the relationship you have with your friends as well.
And family.
Sometimes people just want a hug or they just want to be listened to.
Even though we're talking about these things in a romantic relationship, the lessons that we're talking about also apply for any kind of relationship, brother-sister relationship, parents or friends. This can be implemented in those kind of relationships as well. So if I could urge the listeners to reflect on a few things, I would say, what small actions could you take this week to show your partner that they can rely on you? And are you creating enough space for both of you to be imperfectly human together? Are you putting a lot of pressure on that other person to be that idea that you have in your head of how someone should be? Because it's probably creating a lot of unnecessary pressure. So you have to kind of step back and allow that person to be who they are when life potentially isn't going their way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next point of discussion. So we're now going to be talking about the pitfalls that can weaken trust.
Oh.
Should we skip this one?
No. It's important. You can't have the good without the bad. You can't have the bad without the good. It's the scales of life.
Okay, so what do you think are some of the ways couples unintentionally weaken trust in their relationship?
Not communicate. Communication for me is key. If you're communicating maybe why you do want to go out on your own for a walk, or you are going to go out with your mates this weekend, or maybe you don't want to go out this weekend, or you are annoyed by something that the other person's done, I think that's good, because then you can talk about it, you can get on with it. And I don't like things drawn out. I'm not someone, that whole thing, don't go to bed on an argument, I believe is quite true. Yeah, so I think if you're not communicating, your trust will slowly weaken.
Well,
because you're not knowing what the other person thinks, and then maybe you get in your own head about things.
I think
which can happen.
I think you're talking about avoidance.
Yeah.
I actually have a habit of doing this. I'll get upset about something, and you will be like, "What's going on? Let's talk about this." And I'll be like, "I'm not ready yet. I think I can do this. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to kind of talk about this." And this can really get on your nerves, I think, because you want to be able to hash things out and for us to kind of say things out in the open, whereas I can be a little bit reserved about this and it takes me a while to get to that stage. I mean, we eventually do, and we eventually, the thing that I'm avoiding, I eventually come out and talk to you about, but...
It's usually fine.
It's usually fine.
It's usually not a big deal and we can just move on. That's why I'm like, let's just talk about it now and then we can get on with having fun again.
Yeah, you do say that. So yeah, I think that the thing that Ed is talking about is avoidance. Pretending things are fine when they're not. And you're very good at knowing when something's not quite right, which is really good in our relationship because that means I can't hide.
I'll find you.
I can't hide because you will know. You know me so well now that if there's something that I'm upset about or something's going on for me, you will kind of chase and hunt me down and kind of be like, what is going on?
In a nice way.
Yeah, in a nice way.
In a nice, loving way.
What is going on for you? Let's talk about this. I'm here for you. There's nothing we can't talk about. And again, that gives me the emotional safety to be able to say, okay, well, this is the thing that I'm struggling with. I think the reason why I can be quite avoidant is because sometimes it takes me a while to understand what is going on for me before I can effectively communicate it to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why I'm avoidant at times. But you very much like to kind of know. I want to know what's going on in Anupa's head. I mean, I think a lot of guys are like this. They like to be fixers, and they want to be able to try and fix it.
It's kind of, well, in our DNA, isn't it? Take care of your partner, and this is the same with any relationship. I think there is usually going to be someone that's more, I want to make sure everyone's happy all the time, and then the other person that's like, well, I'm kind of open with, we're not always going to be 100% happy all the time.
Yeah, and you're definitely the type of person that if I'm happy, then you're happy. Like, if I'm feeling calm and at peace, it certainly impacts the way that you feel. So you definitely want to be able to...
I don't want anyone around me to be unhappy, to be honest. I don't want anyone in the world. I'm that kind of person, but that's why I get affected and triggered by stuff that's maybe not always in our relationship, but, you know, we're not going to go into that. But so if my most important person in my life is a bit down, then it is going to affect me. And yeah, maybe sometimes I should be more patient in the sense of, let's fix this now, let's fix it, let's sort it out so we can, like, you know, go and have dinner and go dancing and have fun. Is you also need to respect people. Everyone's different in the way that they process maybe sadness or frustration, or they've had a day where they've been triggered or something like that. Is also give someone time.
Yeah.
You can't solve everyone's problems, and you can't solve your partner's problems all the time. You need to give them space to maybe, like you said, process it, and then come and explain to me, the reason that I'm upset is because, you know, so-and-so stole my chocolate bar at lunch, or whatever it is.
I'm not that petty, guys. But I think this is another good example of how you learning about how I process things has built confidence in our relationship. And so this is another thing. You might have to adapt the way that you behave and how you want to behave in a relationship. Yeah. You might want to fix things straight away. You might have to realise that I need a bit more space. So it's about learning about what makes the other person confident in that relationship and safe in that relationship. So the next point that we have here is discuss how control and jealousy can create distance rather than safety. Oh, this one's a really meaty one.
Jealousy-wise, I don't think that we've ever had that in our relationship. I think because we're quite open people in the sense of, you know, if you're dancing with a guy, it's not really going to bother me because I know that ultimate trust is there's not going to be some, you know, you're not going to go home with him or whatever. Is things like that don't really bother me. I've never been, you know, with you. I've trust you, and I think maybe sometimes jealousy is reflected back into someone's own head rather than actually what the person is doing. So but I feel it's a good topic, but for me it's hard to discuss with you because I've never really felt.
We don't have this issue in our relationship. No, definitely.
I think you get FOMO. That's different.
Oh, yeah, I get FOMO. So if Ed goes to Glastonbury and I'm not going, then I get jealous because I'm not there. But it's not necessarily. I get FOMO. FOMO is a good way to put it. I just want to have fun, you know. And if Ed's having fun, I want to have fun as well.
Jealousy-wise, we don't really.
Yeah, we don't. But what the thing I was going to say was about jealousy is that actually jealousy is something that was probably quite present in previous relationships for me. That was partly because there was instability within myself, but also potentially I was attracting emotionally unavailable people. But for us in our relationship, you're not emotionally unavailable, you're very emotionally available, and you have time and time shown me that you are there to support me and have built that safety within us and me, which means that I don't have that issue in our relationship. But I've also done a lot of work on myself to be able to kind of be safe within myself, to know that.
But maybe when you're in a safe, positive, happy place relationship, then you don't feel any of those things because going back to what we have, you have trust, you have communication. So what are you going to get jealous about? Even, you know, if you are spending time with another female or male or whoever, why would you get jealous about that? Because you have ultimate trust from the beginning that you've built the foundations of your relationship on. So I don't think there should be. I know we're very lucky and we don't have that, and other people may struggle with that, but yeah.
And also going back to the Glastonbury thing, I think it's really important to allow the other person to have freedom and you're not suffocating them, and independence at the same time as trust is super, super important. You cannot be with that person 100% of the time because that other person is going to need a break at some stage, and that is with, I think, every relationship.
It's better to miss someone than resent them.
Yeah,
which we said, another thing we talked about at the beginning of our dating relationship was we do like our own time sometimes, and we like to do things alone, whether that's me doing music or you doing, you know, journaling or meditating or yoga or all these other million things that you do. It's important because then, I missed you today, or I missed you at the weekend while I was in London, or I missed you while I was, you know, in Ireland or wherever. It's healthy to come back and be like that.
We're coming to the end of this discussion point, but the next thing I've planned for us to talk about here is how does self-awareness and recognizing something is actually your trigger and not your partner's fault change the dynamic. And I think this is what I was alluding to earlier about sometimes I have to have space to reflect on how I'm feeling, because I have the understanding that 99.9% of the time, if I am feeling triggered by something, the likelihood is that it's not what's happening here and now. It's potentially a trigger that I've suppressed from, I don't know, when I was 7 or 8.
Yeah. And then something else has triggered that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one thing that in my personal development I have learned is that no one or nobody or no thing can make you feel anything.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
So if somebody has hurt your feelings, there's a real potential that you are perceiving that situation the way you are because something happened to you many, many years ago, potentially when you were a young child and you were unable to process that feeling, and now it's suppressed to a stage where whenever something similar or familiar happens in your life, it brings up that same feeling again.
But I think that also is, I talked about at the beginning, you know, previous relationships, dating adventures, trust, being messed around, or, you know, not being honest or respecting each other. I think that can also be triggering in a relationship. Because say you do something, so, well, I hope you're not going to do what so-and-so did, or I hope you're not going to do what he did to me, or, you know, if people have lied to you in the past and stuff, that's probably where that you can build up that triggering point. So I don't think it always has to be as childhood. I think it can be previous relationships can ruin good new relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to be aware about. If you're getting into a new relationship, I think it's really important to always treat someone like this is a fresh start.
Yeah, fresh
start. I'm not going to judge you like
definitely
you're the male, female, them that I was with 2 years ago or 5 years ago, or even, you know, maybe I know some people, they get hurt quite young and then they're scared to get in a serious relationship because they think I'm going to get cheated on or I'm going to get lied to. So I think I agree with what you're saying, but I think for other people it will be triggering from previous relationships.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think that I'm going to be a bit sciencey now and talk about neuroplasticity.
Okay. I'm not going to try that one.
Plasticity. So neuroplasticity is basically talks about how, do you know how like some coaches will say start speaking to your mind positively because then it will train your mind to think in those positive ways.
Yeah.
So it can happen also the other way around. So say if you have a bad relationship and you keep repeating that same pattern over and over again, you'll start telling yourself the story that I don't deserve to be happy, or I'm unloved, or bad things always happen to me.
Yeah.
This is never going to work out for me. So if you start telling yourself things like that, then that's what you're going to believe, no matter how hard somebody tries with you. So you have to realize that sometimes what's going on in your mind isn't actually reality, and it's not fact. It's just a story and a narrative that you tell yourself. And if you have self-awareness and you're recognizing that these thoughts are not actually your own, but it's a learned behavior from over time, then you allow the relationship to have breathing space.
Yeah.
And that changes the dynamic a lot. I was a victim of this. I did this quite a lot before meeting you and having a relationship with you. And I really reframed the way that I thought about people and relationships, and I really spun it on his head. And that didn't mean those thoughts didn't creep up. They did, but I saw it as a bit of a challenge. Well, here's that thought creeping up again. Here it goes again. I'm telling myself that same story, and I was able to knock it on the head quite quickly because I had that self-awareness of what kind of story I was telling myself. So I think this is another key lesson for people. You're likely to tell yourself things that you truly believe that aren't actually true.
Yeah.
And this is something that I see, this is a pitfall that I see a lot of people have. Like, they'll be like, oh, he took a whole day to text me, so it must mean he's cheating on me. That's one of the examples.
Or he's talking to someone else. Or she's talking to someone else, or I'm not. And then, you know, that will dig deeper into your own views on you.
Well, it starts.
Maybe I'm not good enough, or
Exactly.
I'm not good looking enough, or
Yeah.
I am what that person said to me when I was 12 years old, and blah, 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 and all that.
So it's
But
really,
it's not easy to shake that stuff off.
no, it takes a lot of practice. You really have to be aware of what kind of story you're telling yourself. And I think a good way to do this is to start telling yourself, well, is this fact or could this be a story that I'm telling myself? And if you're, every time something comes into your head, rather than instantly believe it, why not ask yourself, well, where is the evidence for this?
Yeah.
And I think that,
You may have made this story line up in your head.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's, you're likely to play the same record in your mind over and over again. It's likely to happen because our mind is there to keep us in survival. So if something is threatening for you or triggering for you, and getting into a new relationship is a fearful thing to do, you are going to be scared in doing that.
Yeah.
Because there's a risk your heart could get broken. So
Yeah, you become vulnerable. You do.
so
Especially at the beginning, you're really vulnerable because you're putting yourself out there. You might not be received how you wanted to be. You know, you might get knocked back, things like this. But what I always say to you, you are not your thoughts. So because you think something, that doesn't mean that makes you who you are.
yeah, exactly. So it's really important to be aware of this at the beginning of a relationship. You are going to be quite vulnerable and you are going to be quite scared going into that relationship. So your mind is probably going to go into override and go into protection mode more so than usual. So just be aware of what kind of stories you're telling yourself, and maybe make a promise to yourself to do things differently this time. And I think that's one thing that I certainly did in this relationship. I told myself that I was going to do this one differently. And look at where we are now.
Yeah, we're on the wall.
We're on the wall. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you won't know what we're talking about, but there's a picture behind us. Why don't you explain?
So it's a painting that an artist did for us for our wedding. I did it as a gift to Anupa as a surprise, and comes from a photo of us at London Bridge Rooftop. Shout out to London Bridge Rooftop. Any free vouchers, drinks will be well received. Is just a picture we took on our first anniversary of the same table that we met on. Is that right?
Yeah, so we went back to the place where we had our first date for our first anniversary, and we took this beautiful picture, which we have now a big painting of in our lounge.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, so do you want to introduce the next one?
What practical things do you both do that strengthen your connection? So I think one of the practical things that we do is we like to go dancing together, and you know, I think that's a good
We
practical
have a lot of
thing.
fun.
I think sharing something that's, I would say, spiritual, man, in that sense, is really important. Don't you think?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun together.
Those who dance together stay together.
Yeah, we listen to some great music, we go out, have a lot of fun.
Meet new people together.
We meet new people all the time. We have a great circle of friends.
I think something like that is always been important to me as someone that loves music and tries to make music and plays music and has started a small label, things like this. I think it was important when we first met. One of the first things we talked about was music, and you said, "Oh, well, I went out to this gig when I was, 13, and da 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 da." Was to know that, one, I'm not going to be judged for wanting to go out and listen to music, whether it's regularly, and two, is that something that I can share with that person and show them a part of my life that means a lot to me. So doing something practical, like an activity, doesn't even have to be dancing. I feel like if I was really into, let's say, bouldering or rock climbing, I wouldn't expect you to come and do it all the time, but I would love to do it with you once or twice to share that experience because it's important to me.
Yeah, but music and dance is particularly important to you because it's your passion. Because Ed is a DJ, or I don't
record collector, label owner / record collector. DJs, yeah, it's a bit overused these days, isn't it?
So Ed is a record collector,
Not on
and
TikTok.
hold on, what did you call it? Record collector and
Label owner.
label owner. So, you know, music is very important to you and me. I think one of the things that's really important to mention here about what strengthened our relationship is the fact that even though maybe at the beginning I wasn't necessarily overly into the same interests and hobbies as you, but I always made a point of being supportive.
Yeah.
And I think that really strengthened our connection because you acknowledged the effort I was making in celebrating your wins and supporting you in your passion projects
And showing you something. I'm someone that likes to show, oh, have you heard this piece of music? And to see you enjoy that was always really nice for me.
yeah. So even if you think that you're not into something, be invested in what the other person is invested in, particularly if it's very important to that other person. I think that one thing that you still do now and always have done is every time I've gone to a hand-in-hand event or I've gone to a place where you've been playing your records, you've always said thank you at the end of it because
and you don't come
so
to
much.
everything, and I don't expect you to.
Yeah, because it's always meant so much to you.
You usually have a good time anyway, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. But that's not the point here. So, yeah, but on the other side of it, the practical things that we both do that I think strengthen our connection is, we talked about quite a lot about being able to share our vulnerabilities, fears, hopes and insecurities, but I think it's really important to talk about how we regularly check in with one another.
That's what I was going to say next. Check in with each other.
Yeah.
Whether that's a small thing, how are you this week? How's things?
Yeah.
You seemed a bit down this morning. Or big things, which is, do you still not want to have children? Or are we going to buy a house? Or are we going to go on this big trip next year? Or whatever it is, I think it's good to have small check-ins, big check-ins. It goes back to what I'm going to say, which they're going to get bored, is communication. Once again.
He's like a stuck record, everyone.
No, but communication's key. It's built around that.
No, and also the other thing I think we really do well is we are very encouraging. So a lot of the time I have a habit of not realizing that I've done something good until Ed will say, oh my God, that was amazing. Like, I'm so proud of you. So it's really important to be a cheerleader for one another and acknowledge how much effort somebody is making, not only in the relationship, but in life.
With themselves,
Yeah.
Or their hobbies, their passions.
Yeah. And also acknowledging one another when, we're feeling a little bit shit and...
Or you want to give up.
Yeah, when you want to give up, but you haven't. You actually got out of bed that day and made the bed and one thing that
Went
Ed...
for that run.
Yeah, well, I actually went for a run this morning.
Well done. See?
Thank you.
Good job.
So, remind the other person that they're winning in life. And I think you do that a lot.
You do too.
Yeah. So, do you think that resilience is different for us now that we're married compared to how we were dating?
Someone else asked me that question at similar, or two people did, was, so how do you feel different, or, are you treating each other kind of differently in a sense? And I would say no, because I kind of knew that we were going to get married, and the marriage, as I said previously, if you've been listening from the start, is more of a promise to you rather than some legal binding thing. So for me, I think it's given us strength in a resilience of saying, well, now we're married, we're even stronger together. But it's not, and I don't want to take away from marriage, it's not the be all and end all to me in the relationship, because I already had this sense of being resilient with each other and trusting each other and being on the same kind of wavelength spiritually and emotionally and romantically for a long time before we actually got married. So I kind of say yes and no. I know that's not very helpful.
I would say no, but one thing I would say is that it's really funny because we had a really busy summer and we didn't spend very much time at home, but coming back to our home as a married couple, I actually felt different. It did feel a bit different. I was like, oh, we're in our house as a married couple. But then I also remember you saying something like we were about to talk about something, and then you were like, yeah, let's talk about this. We're a married couple now. So I think it was just a bit of a joke, like, we're a married couple now. Let's really talk about this. But in actual fact, not a huge amount has changed, but it was lovely to have shared that day with each other, and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling getting married, and it's a great feeling getting engaged. I've put this in a little bit later in the podcast planning that I did, but I'm going to skip to it right now. Remember that your relationship is your journey, and there isn't a set timeline. So some people might say that 3 years in a relationship isn't long enough to get to know each other to be married, and I would say bullshit to that. Like, you are in this relationship, it's your journey, it's your decision. If you feel comfortable and happy to make that promise to somebody, then I say go for it. There is no set timeline.
And I don't think anyone truly knows anyone anyway. So I'm always going to learn, but that's part of the fun is we'll still learn things about each other. But I think if we've gone, core values and things like this, I think if you have, once again, communication and talking and being aware of each other, then you can get to know someone as quick or as slow as you want, really. Yeah. And it's down to anyone. If people want to get married after a year, then that's fine. If they want to get married after, I think I know people that have got married after like 10 years, and they were just like, we didn't get around to doing it, and we had kids and blah, blah, blah. That's fine too. I don't think there's any rules to this.
There's no rules, and just to give a bit of context, part of the reason why our relationship has gone from strength to strength is because I don't know actually what you think, but I think it's because we have kind of dived in and said, okay, why don't we move in after 6 months of dating? Even though probably previously I would have been afraid of doing those kind of things, I kind of thought, well, this time, why the hell not? It could be better than you've ever imagined, and it has been. So I was very good at overcoming my fears and reservations, and then being like, okay, this is going better than I imagined, and
it was either going to go right or wrong, kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the thing that I'm saying to people is that unless you give it a go, how will you know? So for me and you, that's really worked to kind of throw ourselves in and challenge ourselves quite early on in the relationship, and it's gone from strength to strength.
I'd like to think also, if it hadn't, that we were at a stage anyway where we had respect, and we probably would have gone, this isn't working, or I'm not feeling this anymore, it's been great, but I'm going to move out, or I'm going to move to my flat, or whatever, and that would have been okay as well, because you have those basic respect, and you kind of you do know each other well enough to have those conversations if they're difficult or hard. Or there must have been things when you moved in where you're like, that kind of annoys me a little bit, or you do talk quite a lot, or I do.
Yeah, I know it's not.
Or can you not turn the lights off in the morning when I'm trying to sleep? Whatever those things are, you communicate, but don't you?
Okay, so let's move on to the next talking point, because I think this is a nice little segue. So when things are pissing us off about each other, how do we show kindness and compassion?
Humour.
Yeah.
Humour.
Sometimes I'm not ready to laugh, but you certainly use humour.
I just keep going until you laugh.
Yeah.
I think humour's a big thing, and also I think we've both experienced loss through family members or best friends in our life and we're aware of what's going on in the world, especially today, that it's never really that bad, is it?
No.
When it is. And if people, we do laugh at if we're being a bit silly about things or getting up, like, it's not the end of the world, and a hug and a kiss and a laugh about it is usually the medicine that we use, I'll be honest.
I think one thing that I try to focus on is that just keep your cool, because whatever you're getting annoyed about probably isn't worth it, and then try and remember how that other person does make you happy and all the good things that that person does. Remember what you said earlier in the conversation, that the other person that you're building a relationship isn't going to be perfect. So when you do have those moments of irritation, it's good to kind of laugh it off and relax a little bit, because you're probably making a bit of a mountain out of a molehill, and is it worth jeopardizing something that's good? Take a little bit of a deep breath and see that the thing that you're getting annoyed about isn't really that important, is a good way to tackle this one.
But also looking at the other side of that is also respecting some things that maybe do annoy that person or they are sensitive about.
Yeah.
It's a bit of both, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going back to the scales, like, well, actually, I see why that annoys you. Sorry, and then have a bit of a joke about it, or make it up to them, or try and adapt some things, which you have to do when you live with someone. Whether you're living with your partner or housemates, you have to adapt.
Yeah, it's about knowing that actually that thing that really annoys you, I'm going to try and work on it, so just bear with me kind of thing. But there's also the other side of it, like I've mentioned, you do have to sometimes just say, it is what it is, and I'm getting annoyed, and maybe I need to chill. But also, the other thing is that you have to remember that, do you remember how I talked about that story that you play in your own mind? There's going to be times where you misunderstand things as well.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that you have your own beliefs and you're looking at things from like a small kind of view, and then you might be misunderstanding where that other person's coming from. So you have to have that understanding that maybe I've got this wrong as well.
Yeah. And I think as humans we do that, especially in all parts of the world, but especially in maybe some more privileged parts of the world, is everyone always sees things from their own opinion.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, well, I'm right, this is my opinion, so this must be right. And that's not the case. And if we could all understand that more, and I'm guilty of it, if we could all understand that more, then it wouldn't just improve your relationship, but, being nice it's nice to be nice, and, sometimes it's good to step into someone else's shoes and go, well, actually, how do they view what I've just done or what I've said or what I haven't done? I think that's a really nice thing. And if we could get everyone doing that more, we might be able to improve the world just a little bit.
Yeah, so remember that you're looking at things from your view of the world, and it may not be necessarily the whole truth, but also remember that if you're showing kindness and compassion to others, the likelihood is that you're showing that same kind of kindness and compassion towards yourself. So if you're being hard on other people, it's probably likely you're being really hard on yourself as well. So does that make sense, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. The other thing that I was definitely doing in previous relationship is that I was doing a lot for the other person, thinking that I needed to earn their love rather than just being myself and being loved.
Yeah.
Actually, and it could have gone the other way as well. I might not have done anything and made an effort because I didn't think that it was going to go anywhere anyway. I didn't think I was deserving of that relationship. But there have been times in previous relationships where I've been the one that's always been overly supportive or buying them stuff, or because there was potentially this idea in my mind that if I don't perform or be a good good girlfriend, then they're going to find somebody else that's better than me. So maybe there's this narrative of I'm not enough, so I was showing up overly in that relationship to kind of earn their love. But I think one of the good things about our relationship is that we have been able to show up quite authentically without and kind of unapologetically being ourselves.
But I think
You said this at the very beginning of our relationship. You were like, "Oh, I feel like I'm able to be myself, fully be myself."
And also, I feel maybe what you were saying about without going is I feel I've always been very much giving and not always receiving in emotion. You know, giving more than maybe I was ever getting the other side. But I feel with you, you actually genuinely loved me or liked me for me. So I didn't maybe like what you're saying. I didn't have to, shower the other person or yourself so much. It was actually like, this is the most equal I've ever felt in a relationship. Which when you feel equal, then you become stronger as a team, and then you back each other. And as they said, and someone said to me, I remember at work, not everyone should be looking for this perfect girlfriend or wife or boyfriend. It's actually finding someone who's your best friend, as well as having that romantic thing. If you can find those two things, I think you're sorted.
Yeah.
But that's not always that easy, and we always had this thing of, a husband is a husband, or a wife is a wife, or or even in gay or LGBTQT plus, it's like, just if everyone can be themselves and be authentic, and you can treat each other as equals, I think then you become something even more powerful than just a relationship. That's how I feel. I feel like you're my best friend and you're my wife. And I don't mean that in like everyone says that, but I mean you kind of are my best friend as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Luke and Jake are too, but they've stepped down a bit now.
I feel like this is a mistake that people make when they're dating. Like they're like, has to be XYZ tall, has to have this job,
Dark hair, brown eyes, yeah.
And I kind of let go of that I mean, of course I have a preference. Everybody has a preference. But I kind of let go of that quite early on because I just thought, well, what are you looking for here? Are you looking for perfection, the ideal man? Because I could be closing the door on the most amazing person because I have this ideal, or I'm looking for this perfect idea, and I'm really glad that like I didn't do that from the beginning, because can you imagine how you're narrowing your options because you think that this is the kind of person that I want. But if you stay open to the possibilities, you could be with somebody better than you ever imagined. And I think this is the thing that I've really found in our relationship. I don't want you to get a really big head, but it's better than I ever imagined. Our relationship is better than I ever imagined. Like,
Good.
we get along so well, and we're so happy together. And I never really thought that was even possible.
Yeah.
But I think
I agree. Yeah.
But I think that letting go of what my idea of a good relationship has meant that I've been able to have something better than I ever thought.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
And share. You can share your friendships, and some people maybe they separate. This is my girlfriend, these are my friends, or I do stuff with my girlfriend, I do stuff with my friends. Is if you can share it all, and do stuff that you both enjoy, whether that's hobbies and passions, then that's a really beautiful thing. I think that you can just share things, and also still have your own time apart to do things, but then you really know each other, and I think it does become better than you can imagine, like you said.
So I think the key messages for me here are: be open to the possibilities and stop restricting yourself by thinking that this is my ideal. You might be wrong. You might not know exactly what is ideal for you.
You might not know what you want.
Yeah. So be open to the possibilities. The right person will see you as you are and accept you for who you are, And if they don't, then that's not rejection, but in my opinion, it's redirection. So, as we wrap up today's conversation, I think the biggest takeaway is that trust and resilience aren't built overnight. They're built in the small daily moments where we choose to show up, to communicate, and keep growing together.
It's definitely not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, being kind, honest, communicating. Even when it's hard, that's what builds a real relationship, and finding, your best friend as well as your lover.
Exactly. And remember, love isn't something you have to chase or earn. It's something you grow and nurture by showing up as your truest self and allowing your partner to do the same. So if you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, please share it with someone who's preparing for marriage or building a meaningful relationship. And don't forget to follow, like, comment, and share so you don't miss our next conversation. But until next time, remember, resilience is your superpower.